Ja nazywam się Agnieszka Sznyk, reprezentuję Instytut Innowo, Fundację Innowo i od wielu lat działamy na rzecz transformacji gospodarki w kierunku cyrkularnym. Jest ze mną nasz ekspert Lars Ibsen, CEO firmy Stena Recycling, który myślę, że jest bardzo ważnym przedsiębiorstwem właśnie na mapie tej transformacji gospodarki o obiegu zamkniętym. So now I switch to English because our interview will be led in English. So first of all, Lars, could you tell me a little bit more what is Stena Recycling? Is it the ferries? Because I think in Poland we hear always about the Stena line, but I think you do a little bit more.
Yes, normally when I start explaining about Stena, I always refer to the Stena line, which is mostly known when it comes to Stena. Stena is a family-owned company. It's the Olsson family which owns us, and it was founded by the father of our current owner in the 60s. And they started out as a scrap business after the war, taking down old military bridges, temporary military bridges, and renovating the oil barrels and selling them. But their ambition, they come from some islands outside, the family comes from some islands outside Göteborg in Sweden. The ambition was always to be linked to the maritime, and later the Stena line came up as well. But we are still also in the scrap business, which has now developed into modern recycling business. But in general, Stena is a big group today with a maritime business, with a lot of real estate business of the family. And then the Stena Metal, where Stena Recycling is the biggest part. We have aluminium foundries and different steel businesses. But Stena Recycling, in which I'm working and which we are discussing today, we are very big in the Nordic countries, but we are also in Germany, Italy, and Poland is growing. We are growing really fast in Poland. So, and we are in Poland, we are in the industrial waste management business. So we are servicing a lot of Polish industries with waste management, and we have in Poland 14 locations spread over Poland. Among all, the closest we have to Katowice here is Siemianowice, Sosnowiec, and Chybieńczyce. 3 locations very close to here, but we have all over Poland our sites where we service colleagues locally. In Poland we have about 700 employees, which I have the joy of working together with every day. And our owner, Don Sten Olsson, his son was here, I think 1.5 months ago. He will be the next one, I think, which will start managing us. And Mr. Olsson, he was here, I think in May last year, and is very pleased about the development. I'm very pleased to have the owner himself personally visiting us, and he's very much engaged, and he's checking up if we are doing our business well here, and asking into how development with our clients goes, and so it's a very nice atmosphere to be in, and a family owner family very close to our local business also.
Great to hear. And as you know, like sustainability, circular economy, now it's become very important. European Commission is really determined to change the economy, the European economy. And I think you, with your offer as recycling, as waste management, as environmental service, are a focal point actually for this change, for this transformation. How do you see it?
I see it very positively, and I agree with you. I think in the last 10 years, we changed from somebody who empty your container on the back door to somebody who sits in with the boardrooms and discuss design for recycling and discuss sustainability issues and circularity on a very high level. So and it's increasing. So we are very positive about the development, both initiated from private industries and private people, but of course also the public initiatives like European legislation changes, etc. It's very positive for not only for Stena, but I think for environment and for it's a global issue, which is important for us all
So the legislation you see as an opportunity, not as a threat, as some companies mention.
No, I see it as an opportunity, even though some days I sit and say this is really complicated, but we will get through it. I think it's positive changes. Like all legislation, it's long term very positively. Short term, it's always a challenge. It costs time and money and frustration, but I think it's going in a really right direction.
And this year you publish your sustainability strategy, where one pillar is circular economy. So what is for you circularity? What does it mean for you? And how do you see your role? And why you think circular economy is important?
Circularity for me is very wide scope. Normally when I start talking about circularity, many people, they think about circularity as a closed loop. It means you have a product, it comes to end of life, we take it in and somehow reuse the raw materials into the same product. It's a closed loop. We have many good examples of that where we help our clients making closed loop. For me, circularity is an open loop, because often we develop and produce products in one geographic location, but they are procured, consumed, and have their end of life in another geographic location. And it's maybe too expensive to transport the material back for their original production place, but it can be reused. The waste will be turned, the end of life product will be turned into new raw materials and reused in other products at the new geographic area where it ended up. And that for me also a loop and circularity. It's just an open loop. So that's how I look at the circular loop, but also circularity for me is much more than just recycling the material. It's also reusing, and we have many good examples where we work together with clients, and we actually can pick out certain products. So we help our clients analyze what parts of this product can be reused again, or we have even examples where we reuse certain products. We collect computer monitors or television monitors from Nordic countries, ship them to our site in Wrocław in Poland, and there we have a cooperation with a company where we check the quality of the monitor, dismantle the computer, dismantle the television, and we check if the monitor can be reused. And then those which can be reused are picked aside and reused in new products in different places in the world and gets a new life. On top of reuse, also of course reduce, and I think that's both something we help our clients with to help them reduce their waste, but also I think privately. I'm not a perfect example of an environmental healthy consumer, because my consumption I think is too high, but we really have a challenge ourselves also to use the things for a longer time, maybe put them aside and your sweater will be modern again. I experienced that several times. Now I'm an old man, so suddenly some new fashion comes up and I say, oh, I have a pair of pants like that. A few weeks ago I found an old pair of pants which is a little wide, and my son said, wow, Dad, where did you get them from? It's an old one. So you can be more conscious about your own consumption and reuse things or save them for the future.
I'm happy that you mentioned that it's not only focused as recycling, yes, because recycling is a little bit lower on this hierarchy with waste management, yes, so we always have to focus also on reuse or refuse, so this is like the higher levels on the waste management hierarchy. But also I think, do you advise your partners how to design the product that will be easier to dismantle and, to put it back in the value chain or in the production cycle?
Yes, in many areas, and it's one of the biggest challenges we have when we want to recycle end-of-life products into new raw materials. It's not the traditional products we know, like the iron scrap or the paper from the packaging material. It's all the complex materials, and complex, it means different materials which are bonded together in some kind of way. And that the challenge there cannot be solved at the end of life. It has to be solved in the design phase. So you design the product with materials which can be recycled, but also design the product so that we can dismantle the different materials afterwards and recycle them again. And there we have a lot of increasing cooperation with industrial clients about how to, we call it design for recycling, how to help them design for recycling. Because we know a lot of partners of the raw material producers and on the end of life cycle side who are also suppliers to the manufacturers. And there it's very important that we combine or collaborate and combine more players together, because you cannot solve it alone. You have to have many players in the game to find the best solution in order to be able to recycle the products.
I ask that because when we're preparing our circularity gap report, which I talk about it a little bit later, we visited Norway and we visited some architecture company, and they actually try to retrieve the materials from old ships, as we're talking on the ships from the beginning. And their concern was that the ships are designed in a way that it's very difficult to get big, parts of the, metals or different, materials. And also in that case, they should be designed and they should think about it, because you can imagine how many valuable materials is in the ships, when we can't use them anymore. And they said that before no one even think about it, what has happened at the end of life of this ship. So that's why it's so important to really thinking about the ecos design. And as I said about circularity gap report, last year we as Innova with our Norwegian partners and Dutch partners we prepare and we calculate actually how Polish economy is circular and what is the circularity gap. And apparently it shows the Polish economy is circular in 10.2%, which is 90% still to fulfill, to improve, which is quite a lot. Although, when we compare to other countries or to world average, we are better, because the world average is 7.2% circular. The Scandinavian are not also so good, which was a big surprise for us actually.
It's a shame. Yeah.
So Norway was 2.5 or Sweden was 3.4, but I think the consumption level is pretty high in this country. But also the circularity gap report is measured since 5 years already, and we can see that unfortunately it's increasing, because on the beginning it was around 10% on the world average. Now it's 7%. So how we can stop it? What we can do to really, accelerate the transformation to change this trend?
I think it's several parts which are several issues which has to be addressed here. Technologically, we need to develop technologies so we can recycle raw materials or end-of-life products into new raw materials. Legislation, like we discussed, is a very important issue also on this one. Then, of course, also consumer attitude is very important. We made a survey called Circular Voice, where it shows that actually 8 out of 10 people in Poland wants to have more products with more recycled raw materials used. So there's clear interest and demand for this. 2/3 are ready to change their behavior to their consumer behavior towards more products with more recycled raw materials. And also the majority of the respondents were of the opinion that it's the industry who has to take the lead. And I think both we at Stena and our partners with whom we cooperate and all the clients we serve are doing a lot in the right direction. But of course, the best pressure on industries is consumers. So if we as private consumers also change our attitudes and start putting pressure, then it's also an important pillar in going in this direction. And then of course when we talk about...
Who you put on this first? Government and legislation, consumer or business? Who is the most responsible? Who should change at the first place?
Business.
Business.
Yes, we take the lead, but also as a private consumer, I also have to change. So when I look in the mirror, I have one hat. It is as the CEO of Stena Recycling, what we do together with our clients. That's where I have the biggest impact. But if I don't change individually, we will not succeed. So also when I get up in the morning or go to bed in the evening, I don't look in the mirror, but in the morning I do. I have to look at the guy and say, are you behaving in an ethical way? Are you doing the right things? So also individually we have to change.
Yeah, but also I think that circular economy is a solution that we don't have to sacrifice the comfort of everyday life, yes? It's just the way that we have to produce and consume wiser, smarter, yes? More responsible way, let's say, but it's not necessary that we really have to, back to the shelters or really don't use the civilization achievements which we have. That's why I think I believe in this concept, and I believe that it could convince many people, even not these ecologists, yes, because the circular economy has to bring profit at the end of the day, yes, it must be profitable. But I know that you do very interesting project like with this battery, this cooperation between Deco Eco, I think Castorama, yes, could you
yes,
tell us
we
a little
bit? Yes, we have done, or we are doing more and more collaborations with partners and clients, and I think every example we have, all of us who are involved in the specific project learn a lot, and we found normally we start out with one specific task, but then during the process we learn a lot. I would like to start with the cooperation we had with Electrolux for a vacuum cleaner some years ago. Electrolux wanted to establish they wanted to make an example of producing a vacuum cleaner with recycled material or reused materials, and they asked us for support because we have such big volumes of electronics that we could, out of the volumes we have, we could cherry pick specific Electrolux model vacuum cleaners out of the waste. And in that way we got a big amount of end-of-life vacuum cleaners to Electrolux, who could then analyze the different materials. We worked together with the suppliers of the plastic to Electrolux in order to figure out how could we reuse the different plastics, but also found out that the engines and the core coilers in the engines, I think it was like 25% of the engines we picked out has still a life of 80%. It means they could be reused. So it also gave a lot of knowledge, not only for us about working together with their suppliers of plastic, gave us new knowledge about plastics, but also Electrolux learned about how is the condition actually of a used vacuum cleaner, because we could collect so many. So that gave a lot of knowledge for us. It was very interesting. In Poland we have the example you mentioned with Castorama. We actually take foil from their packaging material in, and we can collect it all over Poland. We send it to our facility in Wschowa, where we have a granulation line. So we sort and clean the foils and produce new LDPE granules from which they make flower pots. I should actually have brought one here. But make flower pots and sell them again, which is a very nice example. What is very interesting ahead of us is lithium-ion batteries from the electrification. And there we are also touching what you call design for recycling, because there we are in a very early stage. Of course, we already have electric cars, but not the volumes which will be in the future. And one big issue is there how to recycle the lithium-ion batteries in the future, and how to collect it and recycle it so we get it back into the loop. And there we have in Poland also, we have a battery center where we collect lithium-ion batteries, not only from cars, but we collect them in Poland from the battery manufacturers. And then we decharge them and do some dismantling in the beginning and decharge them. And then we can ship them to our facility in Halmstad in Sweden, where we just invested more than 100 million Swedish kronor in a new facility, which we call the phase 2, where we can shred the batteries, dismantle them even more, shred them into small pieces, and we collect the plastics, the iron, copper things, aluminium out of the batteries, and then we end up with the black mass, which we then have a cooperation with another partner, who then can, in a chemical process, dismantle the black mass into cobalt, lithium, graphite, and nickel. So that is also but there we are in the early stage, and there we have one of the challenges we have when it comes to closing the loops and recycling more material is the scale, because here we as an industry have to do really big investments now, but the volumes are not yet there. Yeah? And we are not 100% sure how this will work in the future. How will the legal framework look like? How do you practically collect the stuff? Because the electric cars are not in those volumes yet on the streets. So it's a challenge, but it's really interesting. And there we are also many players working together.
Interesting that you mentioned one thing. We come back to the scaling, because it's actually, I think, a big challenge in circular economy. But that's why I have a little bit doubts about electromobility, because if we now exchange all cars into electric cars, there is not enough resources to produce the batteries. Because there are critical resources, critical materials, and there is not that many on a planet. So I think what you're doing, it's really crucial for keep the electromobility rolling, yes, and maybe that would be the answer for that. Because now I still wonder, how we can want to fulfill the global demand, for this battery if we know already there is no such materials.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. If I had that, I would be a wealthy man.
Open remark.
But a lot of people and a lot of bright minds and creative minds are sticking their heads into it now, and it's going to be really interesting to follow. And we are doing a lot of things which we believe is the right way, and a lot of things we are doing also to be in the loop of all these discussions. Now we have a lot of city represented here. We have another, when it comes to reuse of lithium-ion batteries, we have some very interesting projects, if I may say a few words about that. We had a cooperation with Volvo Bus, because we all think about electric cars, but you have electric forklifts in many of companies. You have electric buses already on the street. So we have, if you're in the cities, you have electric scooters all over. So there's a lot of lithium-ion batteries out there. And together with Volvo Bus in Sweden, we had a cooperation where we took used batteries from the Volvo buses, which still had like 70-80% capacity. It's not enough to be used in a bus or in a car, but we could rebuild them into energy storage, which was then used at one of the Olsen families. They have Stena Real Estate in one of the compounds. It was apartment buildings in a compound, and there this energy storage was put in place. So used Volvo batteries from Volvo buses was put in place, and solar panels were installed on the roof, and then we can accumulate that energy on the energy storage of the used lithium-ion batteries. And then that is used for lighting in the common rooms and the welfare areas and so. And that, in relation to the cities, that's a really good example. We call it the battery loop. That's a really good example of reusing lithium-ion batteries from electromobility, giving them a second life before end of life.
Reuse,
reuse. You can take some more. Use it some more. Yeah.
This industrial symbiosis. I heard about the Fortum, the Finnish actually electro plant. They have project with Microsoft, because this server of Microsoft produces a lot of heat. So they try to connect each other and use this heat to heat the city actually. So this is like the new project. I think since 1 year it's developing. We'll see, but sounds fascinating, I must say. So what is the biggest challenge, maybe at the end of our conversation, to really scale up the circular solution? Because this is what I see. I see a lot of nice projects, nice startups, technology is there, but still there is not, enough scale. Also there is European project which, have this 4-year funding, they finish, ending, and it's nothing happens with that. So I think what you see as the biggest challenge and how we can maybe overcome this scaling threat.
I think, of course, legislation is an important thing, and on European level, there's done a lot of good things now in the right direction, which is very important. Then, of course, each of us sitting in the room here, we have to change our attitude faster, because I hope all of us are trying to do something better every day, or sometimes reflect on our consumption, our waste segregation. So, but we can do more. And then, from industry's point of view, I think you cannot solve this alone. So it's about making collaborations and learn from each other, and dare to take some steps together. And there, at Stena, we are very open towards such cooperation, and we have the advantage of knowing a lot of players in this in the recycling industry and in the recycling loop, where we can bring people together, and it's I think that is very important also, because to develop the technologies together which we need for this.
I think this collaboration is in your DNA. Yes, you are just a company which you have to connect the dots on the map, to make it happen.
But legislation and push on legislation, because of course we have to do the work, but the legal framework also have to motivate us to do this and make us dare to take the risks which are in investing big money when you're not certain about how will the future look like.
I think we need also the fiscal revolution, because now still these primary resources are cheaper than the secondary resources, yes, which is crazy. That's why, most of the companies still kind of use or extract these primary resources, not even bother, to see how they can return it into the system. So this fiscal revolution with some, taxation, I think is a must. And also the labor, because labor is too expensive, yes, that people, it's not profitable to repair things, yeah? It's easier to produce the new one because the labor is so expensive. So it's also, I think will change, because European Commission working about this new legislation or this new law. I will check the time, so we are just about to finish.
Pretty good signing.
But if anyone would like to ask the one final question? If not, so I think we can finish.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka.
Thank you very much,
Pleasure.
Lars.